Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hey everyone, still working on the fever. We're going to keep it pretty short in terms of tickers for today. Action after hours for ACB. They have news coming out of raising $250 million, essentially dilution, and the market reacting to it. This is, again, Fidelity coming in the clutch. As we pointed out back on the CGC news, Fidelity gets the news out before a lot of other news wires and brokers. And here's an example. We're in the chat room. I post at 4:32 the news as it hits my Fidelity feed, and I posted that in the chat room and I watched for the reaction and I didn't see it. And the market was just sitting here doing nothing for 5, 6, 7 minutes. And I'm thinking to myself, what am I missing here? We should be dumping at least 5% on this news. And then as it starts to hit other markets, or I should say other news wires and other brokers, then we see the dump. So I'm not a Fidelity rep and I don't get anything for pointing this out, but I cannot point out how many times and instances where news comes out on Fidelity first and it gives a big time advantage. There were people that were able to sell over $7 after hours in our chat room because that news gave a 5 to 7 minute cushion before the all-out dump. So we're seeing a bounce here. A lot of people were waiting, thinking that this daily volume is going to be huge news, buyout news, whatever, and they wait till after hours and drop the bad news hammer. And who knows, maybe they were running the prices up, they being, different brokers, or I should say different market houses, pushing the price up potentially to get a better deal on those shares. We don't know what price, the deal went through at. We don't have all the information we need, but either way, bottom line, this is going to be the catalyst for consolidation on this daily time frame. So the low of today, 702, is very likely to break tomorrow and start the daily consolidation after higher lows 6 days in a row. Daily inside bar likely to break bearish. We're still going to look for healthy daily consolidation. Pretty much anything over, 660 is still very strong on this daily chart. And we'll check back in here right before I end the video to see where we stand after hours, because again, solid bounce where we just saw a nice, about 3.5% bounce from those lows. So checking in on CGC, the bulls are holding up really well. This is looking like a potential bull flag. Volume's extremely low. That was the case across the whole market. And we are looking at the hourly trend. So we lost the little hourly uptrend. We had a potential bull flag, inability to break resistance this morning, unable to get over 44.88. That was the catalyst for profit taking. We saw some nice little oversold bounces throughout the day, but essentially what it boils down to is we had a loss of the hourly uptrend, indicate daily consolidation, but not much follow through for those bears. And so we are in the potential of a daily daily bull flag. And again, if we hold, for visually speaking, if we hold $38, that's very healthy consolidation on CGC. So bulls have space to work with. And checking in on these other names after hours, and I did see CGC was down a little bit after hours, probably a bit of a sympathy play across the sector with this ACB pullback. But bottom line is it's very healthy daily consolidation at this point. We've got support of 4108, 4055, and resistance is 4266. And then up to 44.62. So a bit of a tightening range if we look at the 15-minute time frame. There's the top of a bounce that we had. That's where that 42.66 level is coming from. Got a bull break at the end of the day, but couldn't get over that level. So here is our key 2 supports, our key short-term resistance, and we'll see if we stay in this tightening channel at least to start tomorrow. A break of 40.55 tomorrow would indicate further daily consolidation is coming, and it would decrease the odds of the potential bull flag that is still a potential at this point. APHA pulling back a little bit more clearly today as well. We've got support on the daily time frame down at 846. Low of today was 861. So bulls still holding on, declining bear volume. No red flags at this point. We are still seeing, I like the 4-hour time frame here for clarity of the uptrend, just because you look at this daily chart and it's hard to depict levels and see where there's clear higher lows. But if you look at the 4-hour time frame, we've got clear higher lows here to be watching. 806. Got another one here at 828, 846, and now again here at 861. So if we lose this 4-hour uptrend, it's going to be a little bit more significant consolidation on the daily, and the bulls don't have the kind of cushion to work with in terms of consolidating that ACB and CGC and Cron and these other names have. Meaning, if we pull back just a couple percent from this point, we're going to take out multiple days of support where all these other names could pull back 10-20% they would have to pull back 10 to 20% in order to take out multiple days of support established. So just a meandering uptrend over the past couple weeks rather than the massive bull move uptrends like the other major names in the sector. So Cron daily inside bar, again, ideal consolidation. This is a healthy pullback, and on the hourly time frame, we watched the loss of the hourly uptrend, and now we're not seeing a whole lot of follow through for those bears. I've got resistance at 1349, 1359, 1370 as a couple of resistance levels, and support is down at 1310, 1292, and 1275. So some lower highs, some higher lows, pretty tight range on the hourly. We'll see how this daily inside bar breaks tomorrow, and I would say, again, just visually, Cron could pull back on the daily time frame all the way to $12 and still be looking just fine longer term for these bulls. TLRY. So TLRY on the daily time frame also held support 81, 90, and 82, a bit of a double bottom, and bulls following through with that. We also had an interesting volume spike at the end of the day, and TLRY, it's pretty notable. Look at that volume spike. Matches the pre-market, or I should say the open, the high volume after the bell rings, and it happened at the end of the day for one 5-minute candlestick with no follow-through. And if we look at some of these other names, we saw it on CGC as well, just a big volume spike out of nowhere. So I have no idea what that is or the reasoning for it, but something was going on at the end of the day there, but it was very short-lived, not a whole lot of follow-through. What it does give us is a pretty clear double top, 87.62 the high of the day, 87.25 the high of that pump, and we'll watch to see how we break this inside bar on the daily. If it's a bear break, certainly red flags with the amount of consolidation we've seen at this point, and if it's a bull break, we're going to look for a lower high to form compared to the top at 106 from the initial bull move. So inside bar on Cron and TLRY to be watching. KSHB. So if you remember the video I did yesterday, we were looking at yesterday hourly volume and how it stood out as very unusual. And it was really the 5-minute time frame. We just started dumping out of nowhere. And the comment I made was, so here it is on the 5-minute time frame where we just completely dump. Actually, here it is. Second half of yesterday. So consolidating, looking like a potential descending wedge, and then just a complete dump on a bear volume spike out of nowhere. In the end, it ended up being about 500,000 shares or so. So roughly, we can assume hundreds of thousands, if not a couple $1 million, were dumped out of nowhere. And when you see that kind of volume, you look for news. And when there's no news, something's going on behind the scenes. And we know now, because look at the gap down, there was dilution news released pre-market. We know for a fact, I know for a fact, certainly making a bit of an assumption, but very confident inside information was passed on. It doesn't mean, there's anything wrong with KSHB as a company or the management, but there's somebody in that company that is leaking information, and someone was able to capitalize on that and protect themselves from losing, potentially $150,000. Let's just say some of this volume is stop losses triggering, some of it's somebody selling. But let's say we assume half of this volume, 250,000 shares, is somebody bailing on a big position because they know this dilution news is coming out in the near term. So let's say they exit at 580 as a rough average. So 580, 250,000 shares, we are looking at almost $2 million position. And exiting at 580 rather than having to exit today in the 520 range is saving themselves potentially 6 figures. So this runs rampant in I shouldn't say all stocks, but every day this is happening all across the market. And the SEC does not have the resources to go after this inside trading. What's going to happen with this example? Nothing. There's absolutely nothing that's going to happen to this individual that very clearly had inside information and acted on it. He's going to have more money in his pocket because he did that. And that's just the way that it works. So keep that in mind that, this happens fairly often, and it can be taken as clues. And I said in the chat room and I said in the video last night, I would not be surprised to see some negative news come out, potentially dilution. And they certainly didn't waste any time with that coming out this morning. So I did play it for an oversold bounce, just go over that quick trade there. So I was looking for a potential flush climax of $5 for my entry to begin scaling in for an oversold bounce. And seeing here 4.99 is the low. I didn't think we broke $5. Either way, started to see the bids build. We didn't get any kind of follow through under $5. So I was looking to get in at 5.90 or 4.95 as my first entry. But I noted support holding and bids starting to build. I saw, 30,000 shares show up at $5, 20,000 shares show up at 5.02. I said, all right, that's enough of a shift in momentum for me to be confident that the temporary bottom is in. So I placed my market order. Actually, it was a limit order at 5.05 because I didn't want to ensure some of these OTC names, they give you huge slippage when you just do a market order like that and when the orders start coming in quickly. So I do a limit order above the ask. So it's essentially like a market order for a certain amount of time before it hits my limit, and then it will stop rather than just keep, walking the price up with my order. So I got in at 5.05 and my exit was marked by observation again. So I had a target of 5.25 to give me a day maker, and I was watching this resistance of 5.24, which I do believe is the price that the dilution went through. So it makes sense that we rejected there, but I was just watching the bid in the ask, not even level 2, just the bid in the ask, and I was watching the amount of shares and volume hitting 5.24 on the ask. And the ask was, 10,000 shares. It got knocked down to 3,000, and we were seeing tens of thousands of shares being bought at this ask. And every time a new buy order would come through and chip away at that ask, the ask would refill to 3,300 shares. And that happened about 3 different times in the span of maybe 40 seconds. And that was enough observation for me to say, okay, there's hidden shares on this ask. Someone is reloading and selling as much as they can on that ask without trying to scare people. If I'm trying to sell 100,000 shares and I put 100,000 order on 5.24, that's going to scare people away. Other people are going to sell, and it's going to reject from that price instantly, as opposed to putting 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. And that way, people don't get scared of a massive order. They try and break resistance by buying at the ask. No one's going to buy 5,000 shares at 100,000 ask, but if they're going to buy 5,000 shares at a 5,000 ask to try and keep moving that price up. So I exited at 5.23 as soon as I saw that price action, and ended up being a good exit as far as today goes. But just some observations that are part of my trading style, and that's certainly more important on low cap names and penny stocks with those observations and hidden shares that happens on the OTC exchanges. So that's what we got. Let's check back in on ACB, topping out just under 7 psychological, not surprising. We're going to look to pull back and form a higher low, perhaps in the 670s, and we'll see what the real volume does tomorrow once the bell rings. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you soon.